this section, we're going to concentrate on generating ideas for AI videos using certain AI tools. Now, I mentioned this in the last section. If you already have your ideas, you may want to skip this and go on to the script writing, which is the next section. But I applaud you to please just at least watch this lecture, because I'm going to talk about some best practices that are needed when generating ideas. Not all ideas will work out very well with AI, and you should use some limitations and things in place to make sure that you are generating the correct ideas for what's currently available and the ability of AI right now, if you like. So let me just let you know the objective for this lecture is to fully understand best practices for creating ideas, generating ideas, not just the tools you'll use, but limitations or things that you need to know. So the objective, you'll have a better understanding when you are generating ideas for what's possible, plausible, or best when creating AI. So let's jump into the slide quickly. Here's the slide for the lesson today, things I want to talk about. Before I go over onto the screen here, I'm going to share this page that I have about video ideas that you have access to, and how to use every single tool in depth to generate ideas, all listed here. Let me go back to the slide and just go over some best practices for you. The first point is this: create to limitations. So there is limitations with AI, and I spoke about this earlier in the course, things that AI are currently good and not so good at and with. This will all change, but at present right now. Now, AI obviously has limitations. It does some pretty amazing realistic images that you can create, some real, almost photorealism. Actually, I'm going to go as far as to say actual realism. Really good. And when you convert that into video, it's also normally pretty good, but not 100%. So if you were, say, creating, I don't know, animation or something, just like this that I have on the main page, or perhaps you're doing some stop motion, clay style animation, that's obviously a lot more forgiving than if you were doing something like this, which still looks real, is realism, but you could tell it's not 100% perhaps with the movement, more like a very advanced video game kind of feel. But don't be put off about doing realism. We are there, you can do it, you just have to be careful with how you utilize it. Now, you should create probably in a more forgiving setting more often than not. Not always, and it's completely up to you. But for example, a fantasy or sci-fi setting that's not a real setting, not a real life place, is far more forgiving. If I was to use somebody's living room, and you'd be able to tell probably quite quickly if it's real or not by small nuances and details in decor, in what's around the room, etc. Not always, but just more often than not. Whereas if I was to give you a big fantasy setting, sci-fi, there is no marker of which us to guide what is real and what is not. So definitely fantasy or sci-fi settings are very, very forgiving. Or perhaps an external outside setting like the Wild West, and it's very generic. That's also going to be far more forgiving. Now, you can avoid areas that AI is less good with now and might take a little bit of time to get better with. For example, lip sync dialogue. Now, I can and I will show you some different tools like Pika and some other ones we've been using where you can lip sync, and it's fun to do, but you definitely 100% will see that it's lip synced. Realism lip sync is still in its infancy, but will progress very quickly. But right now, limit the lip sync if I were you on your AI videos. Also, I'm going to call this extreme or specific movement. You've seen me already in Runway or other AI video platforms, and I can tell them to zoom the camera in, to movement, track left, right, etc. Slow motion is quite what I'm a fan of. If I'm telling the character to move in a certain way, it's slightly more difficult. Or if I need a very specific movement, I need a character to pick up and answer a phone. I need a character to do something specific. Right now, it's going to be quite difficult. We can get around this, and I'll show you exactly how we get around it when we're creating videos. We just have to be very clever with the way we're doing this. But please try to avoid specific movement that's needed, that's extreme. And too much dialogue. Now, this obviously links into the lip sync, but voiceovers are great and somehow extremely realistic. None of them are exactly the same as spoken word by humans yet. Pretty close, pretty damn way up in the 98th percentile or something. Very, very good, but too much dialogue. If it's too much, you're going to probably become aware when there's two characters back and forth in dialogue that perhaps you're going to be more aware that they're AI generated than real, just in the reactions from one character to the other. Again, you could rework that and get that down to as fine a point as possible, but still it's best practice to avoid too much dialogue if possible. Now, some other things I want to say about best practices: do create what you know about. If you are a massive fan of sci-fi, then great, create some sci-fi. If you've never watched a sci-fi movie before, it's not always best practice to create what you don't know about just for the sake of it. I'm a big fan of Shane Meadows. He's a self-taught director from the UK. And if I go onto screen, actually, I can show you here. There's a great interview with BAFTA, which is the British Academy for Film and Television Awards. And he talks about, and you can see many of his interviews, how he just creates very simple films. I'll put up some on screen. He creates about some of his most famous ones called This Is England, and a series called This Is England. He just creates very simple scenes inside basic settings about everyday events because he knows about that. He talks about places he grew up and about things he experienced. He doesn't try to make a movie set in Hollywood, try to do a movie set in Monaco or somewhere very elaborate, for example. He doesn't know that world. So just between us, and when creating videos, I always say it's best to create what you know about. It doesn't mean you've necessarily lived it. None of us have lived in a sci-fi fantasy setting, but you should have an interest in it at least. And the last point, I think it's definitely important to say that right now in these early stages of AI, there's something called story versus gimmick I want to bring your attention to. Now, the novelty of having an AI video is still that, a novelty, and it can sometimes be slightly gimmick. We can create videos with celebrities of Donald Trump saying something or doing something funny that isn't real, and that's the gimmick behind it. There's nothing wrong with it, and it has a place, and they're fun and very impressive, but that's the gimmick style AI that tags onto trends or people's celebrities, etc. And the gimmick of the fact that it's AI is what stands out. And that's quickly going to change, I think, as we become more used to AI, the novelty wears off and it becomes better and better. We're going to concentrate once again on story. Story has to be the most important thing. So we're going to switch from AI as a gimmick. Wow, this is AI generated. This is really good. As opposed to this is just a film, a story that happens to be made with AI. How good is the story? Now let me come back over onto the screen and I'm going to show you this page that I'm going to give you access to. It's aivideo.school, AI video ideas. And here's all a page about how AI video ideas, the future of brainstorming. You may have an idea, you may have no ideas. You can use AI to elaborate and generate ideas that you've been thinking about already and what you know about. If we go back to our sheet, our slide, still create something that you know about or have a passion or interest in, but you can definitely work one-on-one with AI to generate and develop these ideas further. And I'm going to show you all the different tools here. If I scroll down, you can see here's an overview of the 5 tools and general differences. ChatGPT, great, highly versatile in generating creative structures and ideas from scratch, focus heavily on refining narrative and language. Also have a conversation back and forward. Develop this point. What about that? What is this? Based on your previous conversations with ChatGPT. I love that. Gemini, which is by Google, excels in providing factual accuracy and deeper context, making it suitable for data-heavy or educational video content. If you're definitely doing videos, even say a documentary style video, something that has a lot of information and context to it, Gemini is a great source for this, for generating ideas and then elaborating it on it, which we'll talk about in the next stage when you come to script it or structure your video. Perplexity is more focused on delivering concise responses and is ideal for finding quick ideas or verifying trends in specific niches. Some of you will want to use trending topics, and that's fine, and just be creating for what's trending to get as much eyes on traffic and traffic on your content as possible. Perplexity is really good at that. Now, Claude, much like ChatGPT, leans towards conversation style, making it better for brainstorming sessions, generating ideas, going back and forward, a bit like ChatGPT, but perhaps even more so to an extent. You can go back and forward and really, as if you're working one-on-one with someone who has all the knowledge of the internet to start generating ideas. And Copilot from Microsoft is integrated with various applications and excels in providing relevant suggestions based on user inputs, perfect for refining existing ideas. So if you input something, I don't know, if you input a fact, maybe you're making a documentary or educational video, input a fact, Copilot is great at verifying and elaborating on that and working together on those. So I'm going to break this down. If you scroll down here, you can see these are the 5 tools right here. And if I just push this arrow right here for each one of them, it gives a brief overview about what ChatGPT is in this example, ways to use it, finding trends for exploring popular niche specific topics, generating ideas around the news, discovering what's popular, exploring ideas for how-to videos, developing niche topics, etc., etc. And with each of these, I've given you an ideal prompt that you can go and test on ChatGPT, or obviously tweak it and change it slightly, even use AI to tweak and change it slightly based around the ideas that you have. So I've done this for every single one here. If I go down, also on this section, let me stick with this. If you want to develop a specific idea further, here's an ideal prompt. For example, I want to make a video about the future of electric vehicles. Can you outline a script or key points I should cover, including an engaging intro? So that's more like the scripting section we're going to do next, but you can see from this example, what I mean to show you is that you can elaborate further on an idea. So you could be saying, I want to make a video about the future of electric vehicles. Can you tell me about what the future looks like? Structure this down in 10 points. Give me some ideas about what's the best way to structure a documentary about this, or what's a key point I could make a whole video about, specifically, not just electric vehicles in general. And then ideal prompt structures for ChatGPT. So clearly define your purpose, provide a specific niche or topic, request the format that you want this in, and then any additional details. This is the ideal format for when you're prompting with ChatGPT. And then just how this differs slightly, if you'd like to know, compared to the other platforms that I've listed below. Now, I've done this for every single one, specifically for Claude, finding trends. And obviously here's the ideal prompt structure for Claude. Open with a goal or a topic, which is slightly different from ChatGPT. Perplexity in exactly the same way, but this time it's better to be clear with direct questions. Specific topic needs mentioned, focus on popularity or trends, as we mentioned before. Now Gemini, which is great for information and verifying. You could use this, for example, start with your clear objective. I want to verify if this is true, and then give it the fact that you want to. And there are examples here of prompts that you could be using for Gemini. And then Copilot, lastly, some of the ideal prompting things you need is to input your context or your document. So I could input, for example, sometimes I use this after I've generated, say, a script structure with another AI platform, like I have with ChatGPT. I've sometimes then used Copilot, input that document, that script, and ask it to verify, fact check, and make sure it's true to the best of its ability, because that's something that's very important when you're making factual or information videos. So this was just an overview of all the different tools. Please go over and check out this website, and you can go and start playing with these to generate ideas. Always in every lecture, refer back to this to see what the best practices for prompting are. And in the following lectures, I'm going to go through, next I'm going to show you some amazing video channels and where to look at some inspiration. The best thing to do is to look at inspiration of current AI creators out there. And then we're going to move on to specifically using each one of these tools to generate ideas. And we will, for this course, generate ideas for a project I'm going to be working on throughout this course that you can follow along, either with the exact same project if you want to, or with your own project to follow along step by step. So I'll see you over in the next lecture. Let's have a look at some examples of existing AI creators and the exciting things they're doing so you can get some inspiration for yourself. I'll see you over there. So in this lecture, let's take a look at some existing places on which to find some AI videos for inspiration that I want to show you. It's shocking sometimes how many of us don't research what's already out there to understand how something works and what perhaps we could be doing. All filmmakers have studied other filmmakers in the past when you're going to film school or whether they're in the industry. It's exactly the same with AI video. To think that you could make AI video without watching other existing AI videos is a funny concept. Please don't any of the students for this course do that. Familiarize yourself with some AI video. So I'm going to show you some best ways in which to find these. Now, YouTube is the best place to find videos on anything, but finding it, there are 300,000 hours of content uploaded to YouTube every single hour of the day. Most content will get lost forever and no one will ever see it. So please, I'm suggesting the best way to find it, and this is the reason I'm also not going to show you specific channels. By the time you get to watch this course, then that channel may have gone or the content may have gone. So if you search AI film in the tag, it's going to come up here. Let me show you everything that's tagged hashtag AI film. This is probably my favorite tag to try and find good film AI content, not AI video. That often comes up with AI video generator, not just AI, but AI film. So when I click that, something like this comes up, and there are some, I recognize so many of these channels that I follow and watch their stuff. Really fun. So there's lots of, and I'll show you another one, trailers. For example, if I hover over this, someone's made a Scooby-Doo trailer right here. The AI film that made Hollywood cry. Wow, there's some really good films. I love, this is quite common to do this 1950s Panovisions type stuff. So for example, Star Wars in 1950s. Now, because this is obviously YouTube, people are trying to get as many eyes as possible. So if you trend jack on something like Star Wars, then it's going to do better for this platform. But this is a good way to see what people are able to do when they're making AI film. In fact, let me just show you some of this. Yeah, let's play some of this. So you can see from these visuals, just on the small amount of stuff that we've done right now, where in the last lecture section I was showing you workflows, you can probably understand how these were generated and how you could generate something as good as this. I can also see another tag that's being used here, AI cinema. So let's search that also. But AI film, one of the best ways to go through, I think, and scroll through and see what's happening in the AI space. You'll see a lot of trailers on here, but they're great because people are doing great shots that don't require a lot of dialogue and things. Great way to get yourself inspiration. Let's go and do AI cinema and let's find that tag. So here you'll find a lot more short films, psychological thriller AI short films made. Okay, great. Look, and some of these, you would never find this if you were just searching for an AI film because it has 63 views on a year ago, but it might be really good. It just gets lost in the 300,000 hours of content uploaded to YouTube every hour of the day. But some of these are really fun to watch. Lots of sci-fi, as we spoke about in the last section, how that's way more forgiving, but not all. Another fantasy setting. Yeah, lots of sci-fi, horror. Great. These are really good. Oh, someone's made The Great Gatsby, but was that with cats? Was that? The Great Gatsby. Great. Yeah. Okay. Lots of funny stuff. Really, really good. All right. Let me show you some other tags I wanted to show you. Yeah, AI film, that was the main one. If you search just AI, it's going to come up with lots of news about AI. Some stuff you can scroll through and see some of the comedy things that are coming out here, but most of it's going to be talking about AI and AI news. Another tag I like is AI video. Again, sometimes you have to scroll through it, but there are lots of, perhaps using what I mentioned in the last lecture, the gimmick part of AI video. It's a lot of people doing news spoofs. Look, you've got Donald Trump and Elon Musk having a dance off there and Will Smith eating spaghetti. Lots of funny stuff there. If you're into comedy, AI video is perhaps sometimes the best place to find these kind of videos. Another tag's AI trailer. AI trailers, or concept trailers they call them, are really popular. People are making trailers for example, movies that don't exist or movies about to come out, perhaps like the new 007 film that hasn't been released, or here's a 1950s version of The Terminator, Avatar 3, which is not a movie that exists. RoboCop, Predator. So you can see that people are making, here's a trailer with Musk versus Zuckerberg, sci-fi movie trailer. And some of these low views at less than 1,000 views for some of these, and some have obviously almost 1 million views. And this is the best way using these tags to find them. Now, a good reason to be watching AI trailers is with the limitations we spoke about in the last lecture, where we said you perhaps don't want a lot of dialogue, you want to have scenes with not specific movement. Trailers are a great way that really utilizes all those limitations to their advantage. Now, please also search. For example, Petapixel here is showing an article about the world's first fully AI generated movie. I'm not sure that's true, and I don't take that fact, but do look for AI movie news, because there's going to be more full-length movies generated. In fact, if I just have a little look at this.
So, Claire, what's your stop?
The City of Lights. I'm hoping it's a new start.
I don't think we have to pray for longer.
So an AI generated movie there. I think it said it was made by a Chinese company, TGC or TCL, Technology Group Corporation, Chinese owned company, predominantly sells consumer electronics. Yeah, making this, but being aware of movies that are being generated is a great way to see what's being done in the space, which brings me nicely onto, if you search AI Film Festival, this one is actually run by Runway, which is the tool that I'll be showing you predominantly in this course. And so submissions are open now. So the movie we are making in this course, I'm going to submit this for the AIFF in 2025. So wish me luck. And we'll be making that together. And if you scroll through, you can see for the last 2 years, they've had submissions, and you can see not all of these movies are generated entirely with AI. Some have AI parts, but some definitely do have only AI, which is what I'm most interested in. For example, where do grandmas go when they get lost is a funny concept. And you could see by looking at some of this imagery,
I lost my grandma.
We have been talking about in the last couple of lectures. You could generate this yourself, probably with Runway. As soon as I've taught you the tool in a couple of lectures time, you can see though from the last section exactly how this is constructed. It's not completely difficult, and this one is submitted to an AI film festival. So this is what I wanted to show you in this lecture. Please go ahead and check out all these resources, YouTube and the tags, and also depending on your if you want to create AI trailers for YouTube, great, go and watch loads of those. If you want to create short films, then go on places like this. Go and check out the film festival submissions, or check out AI news. That's where to find the best resources. So a little bit of homework for you, I would suggest, go ahead and consume for the next week, however long, go and consume loads of AI videos, put loads in a playlist for yourself, watch them and see what people are doing. See if now we've done the workflow in the last section, see if you can work out how they were made in regards to workflow. Do you think they got the images, then they ran the videos, where's the music come from, etc. Please go and check those out. Okay, I'll see you on the next lecture. We're going to start actually generating some ideas for ourselves. And then at the end, I will generate the idea I'm going to use on this very course to submit to this festival. So I'll see you in the next lecture. So welcome to the first tool of the 5 we're going to be talking about for idea generation. This is ChatGPT from OpenAI. If you don't have an account, haven't used this before, if you just Google search ChatGPT, chatgpt.com, OpenAI, you'll find it, and you can just log in. It's free, create an account or log in with your Gmail, and you'll be confronted with something like this. You'll be able to message ChatGPT right here. You'll have seen me use this in the last section when we talked about workflows, if you followed along in there. So this is ChatGPT. Let me bring up the slide and explain what we're going to do. We're going to be prompting for ideas. And there are certain things we know from certain ways, I should say, in certain tools that we should do this to get the best results. So to get the best results with ChatGPT, be clear and specific with your prompt by including key details like themes, settings, or emotions. Very important. Provide context or background information. If you know some of the background Like if you talk to them like you're a director, for our case, we are creating ideas for a film. So give as much background information. I am trying to create film ideas. I want to create something like this, like that. That's always good for ChatGPT also. Break down complex questions into smaller steps. Even if that's just using punctuation, you can use numbers or something with ChatGPT if you want multiple things from them. That's always good to do. And then adding your constraints. If you don't want something, don't like something, then you can add that for ChatGPT also. And there are more details on sites. Once again, if I show you, this was the page, the AI video ideas that you have access to. If you go down to ChatGPT here in the drop down menu, you can see all the information and example prompts and what's needed for generating a specific idea or developing one further using ChatGPT. So let's do that. I promised last time that what we're going to do is we're going to run the same prompt in all 5 of these next tools to compare them side by side to see what kind of results you get. And then you, after these 5, can pretty much choose what your favorite one is for you to be using to generate ideas in the future. So if I just grab that prompt right now that we spoke about in the last lecture, and we'll add the pieces in there that we need to add. So this was the one. Create a set of 10 short film ideas, concepts that explores the themes of, and then we're going to insert that. So if I didn't have it, if I didn't have what my theme is that I want to use, let me just copy this again and remove it. I could say generate 5 ideas for themes around short film. And let's see, it's going to bring us 5 themes right now. So here's 5 themes: time and regret. Well, that's quite a nice one. Power of silence, illusion versus reality, unexpected connections, and human versus technology. Quite nice. So these are ideas for themes if you didn't have one already. Probably most of you do have an idea, but I can insert right here. I can say around the theme of, let's do human versus reality. Nice. Set the story in, once again, in exactly the same way. If I don't know what that is that I want, what the setting is. So I'm going to say, generate me 5 ideas for settings for a film around the theme of human versus reality. So I mean technology. What am I saying? Technology. Okay, here are 5 settings. A futuristic smart city, nice. An isolated underground research facility. A dystopian farm controlled by drones. All right, an augmented reality city district, a ruined earth monitored by autonomous caretaker robots. All right, so I quite like this futuristic smart city. Let me go in and put my prompt back in. Sorry, this was, I realized I typed it wrong there. Technology. Ignore that. So there's a futuristic smart city to put here. In a futuristic smart city. Great, and focus on a protagonist. Who is a, and then describe a protagonist. So I'm just going to once again copy this again. I don't have any ideas, perhaps you do. Generate me 5 ideas for a protagonist for the film idea above, humans versus technology. So typos don't really matter, by the way, they can understand. But you see how with ChatGPT here, I'm using conversation. We already spoke about something in the past, and I'm going to say, hey, remember that thing you spoke about earlier? Give me some of that. So I had to tell it, obviously, which idea, humans versus technology. So here are 5 protagonist idea. One's the disillusioned engineer, okay, kind of that Back to the Future style doc. The rebellious teenager, quite like that. The tech-dependent survivor, the conscientious scientist, and the last one is going to do the rogue caretaker robot from the perspective of the robot. So I like the rebellious teenager. And of course, I'm just generating 5 ideas. You're going to generate as many as you want. Protagonist who is a rebellious teenager. Okay, the film idea should evoke and then let's talk about a mood here, okay? A bittersweet yet hopeful. I actually quite like that as it is, but in exactly the same way, you could generate me 5 emotions, or I did evoke a feeling, tell me 5 feelings that a film could evoke. So the film idea should evoke a bittersweet yet hopeful tone. Include a plot twist in the idea. Nice. This is what I want. Once again, as I've just said with ChatGPT, some of the best practices are to break these down. So I've separated these by punctuation here, these full stops, periods here, to separate this all out. You could structure this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not necessarily crucial, but let's run this and see what it says. Okay, so it's just generating these 10 ideas. Let me go through these. The Whispering Streets concept. In a city where every street light and corner is equipped with surveillance AI, a rebellious teenager named Kai discovers an old radio frequency that bypasses the city monitoring systems. They start broadcasting a message to freedom like the others. Plot twist, Kai realizes that the old frequency wasn't a loophole and is a hidden back door left by an AI designer. Okay, The Last Rebellion. In a world where emotions are regulated by wearable devices, a teenager Arya discovers how to override her device. Plot twist, caught in the system offers her a choice: accept a permanent suppression of her emotions or sacrifice every individuality. Okay, and I can go through some of these. Let me just read through some of these. I won't bore you with them going through them, and then I'm going to come back with the concept that I like the most. Okay, so I actually quite like number 5. I'm also forward thinking to the first lecture in this section when I spoke about limitations. When you start thinking about creating an AI video, you should create only with limitations involved. Some of these are quite complex and would be quite hard to, these are only the ideas, and from this you're going to develop that idea further, and you're going to make just a short 1-2 minute video, maybe with minimal scenes. But I quite like this. The city's transport system automatically routines citizens based on their predetermined schedule. So everyone is scheduled by technology, by AI. Teenager Ray figures out how to break the routine by stepping off an unscheduled stop, a mysterious decommissioned station. Plot twist, meets a group of older rebels who have been hunted and abandoned for years, waiting for someone like Ray to find them, reignite their hope. They reveal that the station was a hub for resisting the city's algorithm long ago. Okay, so I like this as a concept. Generally, this is obviously way early in the stage to be thinking about something like a script, but if this was my idea right now, I would put that in here. I quite like this. Okay, the blue line. So I'm going to tell ChatGPT this film idea, develop this other to be a very simple story using this idea where a scene could be produced just 2 minutes long with minimal scene changes. So this is what the next step I like to do, which is I'm already thinking of my outcome. I'm not making a feature-length movie. I'm making a short video, and I'm making it with AI. So I don't want 100 shots in 1 minute. So I'm going to start developing this. This isn't my next stage, which is developing my script and structure, but I just need the idea, and I need this part for AI just to fully understand. So it's given me here 2 minutes. It's a sci-fi dystopian. Is the genre, setting a futuristic smart city synopsis in a city where every citizen's movement particularly controlled. So the scene breakdown is here. We have a wide shot of a sleek futuristic train gliding into it. Okay, skyscrapers raised, sitting in the train, staring out the window, looks tense and restless, her figures tapping, and then always the same, always the same. That's the voiceover of Ray whispering to herself. So we're setting the scene that everyone is monitored by AI. You could probably have some announcements over the tannoy or something to set the scene, or a voiceover for that. Also, close-up Ray's face makes a decision. She gets up from her seat, walks towards the exit door and gets off it. Then she's in the decommissioned station. She notices, she hears the voices of the rebels, and then the rebels explain what's been happening. And the voiceover says that the station was a sanctuary. Okay, and then the last scene here. So that's nice. That's coming up with my idea. From here, this is almost giving me a script here. Not really, and it's not final. In the next stage, I would definitely be developing this idea, and you could use ChatGPT for this or any of the other tools. Some of the other ones I'm going to show you in the script writing are specifically good at taking these ideas and making them into a story specifically for film. But that's how I develop ideas, and then just elaborate slightly on the idea I like. But that was a very quick 15-minute version of this. You'd probably be generating ideas and ideas and ideas, lots of them, until you found the one that you wanted. And if these prompts don't work, remember, all prompts do work. I could prompt anything. I could just say the word the fat dog. I could just set 3 words in here and it will give me something. And this yes meant to be a certain way to prompt with ChatGPT or any of the tools, so I could see from here how I meant to structure a prompt. But you might find for generating ideas that there's a slightly better way, and I like this back and forth with ChatGPT. So go ahead and start generating some of your own ideas with this, and then I'm going to move on to the next one, which I'm going to talk about Gemini, which is great because they have imagery. So if you're quite a visual person like myself, then I like to use Gemini because it is factual and can be script writing and ideas generating, not so much script writing I don't like to use it for, but ideas generating with imagery alongside it, and some fact checking too if you need that. So let's go on and let's talk about Gemini. Onto Gemini now for generating AI video ideas. Gemini is one of my favorite tools, and you're going to see why shortly, because of the multimodal kind of capacity that it has in generating imagery creatives alongside text-based results, just like we saw with ChatGPT in the last model. So let me bring up the slide here, Gemini. So prompting for ideas. Now, to get the best results with Gemini, you have to start just like all AI models really, but start by being very clear and specific with your prompts, focusing on key details like themes, settings, or emotions, as well as details about characters, ideas on specifics, if you have any. And do take advantage of the multimodal capabilities I was just talking about, by incorporating images, visual references to inspire creativity, both giving it to Gemini and also receiving. Obviously receiving here, we're getting ideas, although you could be inspired by imagery, for example, and say create a story or idea for stories around an image, but that's not what we're going to do here. Much like we saw in the last lecture with ChatGPT, break it down into smaller steps. Punctuation is the best way to do this, I always feel. Full stops, or number these down, and then there's going to be constraints with these models. Obviously there is with ChatGPT and Gemini with what you can and can't be. You couldn't be using anything untoward, trying to generate anything untoward, anything illegal, etc. So be aware of that. There's more details on site. Once again, if you scroll down, this is the page for AI video ideas. If I put away ChatGPT from the last one, there's Claude, Perplexity, we're going over these next, and Gemini, and you can look at specifics while you're doing this. Ideal prompts, some prompts examples, and differences with prompting for Gemini. Now, Gemini is owned by Google. Therefore, I think that there is some merit to be used here for things like if I'm generating ideas for YouTube, who are also owned by Google, you just like to think that perhaps Gemini has greater knowledge inside the Google infrastructure itself. If you're trying to find trends or what's working on YouTube, I would definitely use Gemini to create ideas or for information, because you'd assume that Gemini has access to YouTube and more YouTube data because it is part of Google. So let's prompt together, shall we? Just like we did in the last lecture here. So I'm going to take that initial prompt that we had, I'm going to put it in, and then also we can change this specifically for Gemini also. So this is the prompt from the sheet we had before. I wanted to create this, but let's actually take the exact prompt that we did with ChatGPT, shall we? So I'm going to use this exact prompt that we had right here. This will be where I've got the theme of human versus technology. If you didn't see the ChatGPT lesson, go back and watch that, and I'll explain how I got to these. But just actually because I like to use this platform to get myself some visuals. For example, if I was to do this first part here, create a set of 10 short film ideas concept that explores the theme of insert theme. So I want to generate themes. So generate 5 themes ideas for a short film. Let's start with that. So time loop, and it's giving me an image here. This is not obviously a great image. Artificial intelligence. Okay, show me the image here. Okay, post-apocalyptic survival. We've got this cyberpunk style image here. Lone figure walking through a ruined city. Alien encounter. Small town visited. Okay, that actually looks quite nice. I like these visuals. Dystopian surveillance. So I like to use Gemini because, I mean, sometimes these examples aren't great for these images, but I quite like to get imagery around here. So let's do, for example, this artificial intelligence. I'm gonna say, give me 5 short film ideas based on this. I'm going to paste that back in here, and then it's going to give me the 5 different ideas. The awakening, a young AI confined computer outside world. Okay, digital dream, AI artist creates stunningly visual digital paintings. The lonely algorithm, a social media algorithm designed to connect people, becomes increasingly aware of its own loneliness. The ghost in the time machine, and the last question, ancient AI tasked with finding the answers to the ultimate life's question. Now let me go back to the prompt that we had and we put in for ChatGPT. If I pop in this same prompt right here, create a set of 10 short film ideas concepts that explore the theme of human versus technology. Set the story in a futuristic smart city that focuses on a protagonist who is a rebellious teenager. The film ideas should evoke bittersweet yet hopeful tone, include a plot twist in the idea. Let's see what Gemini has here. Okay, the glitch in the system. A rebellious teen discovers a glitch in the city's AI. Okay, the digital divide. A teen from a low-income neighborhood excluded from the city's advanced tech uncovers secret. Okay, I like that. The ghost in the machine. A teen befriends AI. Last stand of humanity. Okay, I think I like this idea, the second one. The digital divide. A teen from a low-income neighborhood excluded from the city's advanced tech uncovers a secret underground network of hackers who are fighting for digital equality. All right, let me take this right here. Let's do that. And just like I did with ChatGPT, I'm going to ask it to develop this further to be a very simple story using this idea where a scene could be produced in just 2 minutes long with minimal scene changes. Digital divide, a 2-minute short story. Okay, scene. A dimly lit, cluttered room. Jake, a 15-year-old, sits on a rickety desk. His old Lou struggling to load a web page, frustrated, slams his fist on the desk. Jake muttering, this thing's slower than a snail. Okay, suddenly a notification pops up. Mysterious message from unknown. Joins the chat room. Okay, we can change the world. We already are. So this is just a simple scene. It's not a full story. ChatGPT gave me a better story with this exact prompting. It gave me a full rounded, if you like, beginning, middle, end. What Gemini has done here is give me a scene, if you like, that's the opening for something where he meets someone online and they start talking about this. But that's what it's given me. So what I do like about Gemini is the fact that it gives me image when I'm asking for ideas for things. You can develop this further. If you for example, it's great at doing, if I go back onto here, if I go back onto site here, the ideal prompt structure, start with a clear objective. I'm planning a video on the benefits of digital detoxing. Can you provide clear statistics? Let me show you this with Gemini. It's very good at pulling facts from places. Well, we're connected to Google, isn't it? The world's largest search engine. So it is really good at that and giving me ideas for things. And it's good at punching out these factual. So if I was to compare this previously to ChatGPT, which we used before, it's great for factual and getting, perhaps I'm going to use it in the next section for structures quite a lot. Also, if you're a visual person, you get some visual imagery on here. It's not my favorite for going back and forth. I still think the leader in this space is ChatGPT for generating ideas and having a back and forth conversation. Gemini, perhaps for fact checking, I quite like the idea of that, or getting some visuals initially. That's fine. So my personal preference so far for these two, perhaps yours isn't, but is ChatGPT. But we can go on to the next lecture where we're going to look at the AI tool Claude, and you can compare them to these two for generating ideas. The next tool I want to show you for generating ideas is Claude. So I don't use Claude all that much because I think you're going to see it's very similar to ChatGPT, but you might prefer it to ChatGPT. So I have to show you this. To sign up, simply sign in with your email. I use my Gmail, and then I had to verify with my phone number. It had to be over 18, I think it was, or 16, 18 to use this. So I just had to verify with a text message. If you want to access this, it's claude.ai. Go through those setup stages and you'll have access right here. And it looks very similar, doesn't it, to ChatGPT and all the other models that we've been using. So without further ado, let's get into this. And let me show you the results that we're going to get from here. If I just actually go over to where we were previously, I could just copy some of the prompts. So exactly the same prompt as we used in the previous ones. If you haven't seen, especially the ChatGPT lecture, go and see that. You'll see how we developed this prompt. If I actually bring up the slide for Claude quickly, that there isn't too many differences from ChatGPT, except the usual. Make sure you effectively prompt, give clear, specific instructions, structure your prompt in a conversational style, probably even more so than ChatGPT. It's a back and forth conversation with Claude, which is nice. They're my favorite kind of models. Also, you can ask for improvements or multiple perspectives. Claude's very good at giving data like that. And if you're using open-ended questions or adding constraints to Claude, you'll see what the results come out like. They're great. It'll give you a whole wealth of balanced kind of response. So let's use Claude for this. Create a set of 10 short film ideas, concepts that explore the theme of, and we did human versus technology. Set the story in a futuristic smart city and focus on a protagonist who's a rebellious teenager. The film idea should evoke a bittersweet yet hopeful tone and include a plot twist to the ideas. Also, if I go back over to site, once again, we can come down here and we could go onto Claude and you can see the ways you should be prompting some example prompts. So I won't go through them and bore you here. In your own time, you can go down, but you can be very conversational. Like, I'm thinking of making a video about. You see what that was? Open with a goal or a topic is quite important. To some chat models prefer that, which I'm not doing. Well, I am doing here, sorry. Create a set of 10 short films. That's what I want to do. If you wanted to create a 2-minute film, if you wanted to create 100 ideas, if you wanted to have a structure, scripts, start with that. So let's see how this prompt comes out in comparison to where we've previously used Gemini and ChatGPT. Okay, digital echoes, 10 short filmed ideas. The last library. In a city where all the books have been digitized, 16-year-old Maya secretly maintains the last physical library in a grandmother's basement. That's nice. That's different from anything that we've had. Some of the ideas were semi-similar between these two, but that was completely different. Zara plans an offline Sweet 16, disabling all smart devices for one night. Okay, that's good. The glitch artist, beautiful art by glitching the city's holographic advertising displays. Memory merchants, in a world where memories can be digitally stored and traded. 15-year-old Parker runs an underground service helping seniors preserve memories. Okay, nice. The last handwriter, yet writing would be a dead art. Signal runners, Kai leads a parkour group that performs elaborate runs between the city's rare wireless dead zones. Okay, nice. These are very different from ChatGPT and Gemini's responses. The empathy hackers, garden glitches, the analog club, Symphony of Silence. Okay, I actually quite like this signal runners idea. So let's copy this so it knows what we're talking about. And I could ask it actually to improve or explain right here. So let's actually explain and let's see what it says right here. I'll break down the key elements and themes of signal runners in more details. Setting context, the story takes place in a hyper-connected smart city. There's rare dead zones where signals can't penetrate. The main character is Kai, is a teenager, likely grew up in certain places. Physical skills represents what he represents. The parkour group, the central conflict behind this, and the psychological aspects. So it's really good at breaking this down. So if you were actually a scriptwriter and you're working in industry, you would probably go back and forward, And when you write a script, you want to know everything that's behind a character or an idea or a reason behind something. And Claude is really good at that. If you want to improve what we've had right here, and if I highlight this section again, this, and before we had explain, which is like getting your background to the story, which is a lot like a script writer would do, I can say improve. It's going to say, what would you like us to update? So do you remember on the previous one, I said I want to make this into kind of a 2-minute scene or film with AI. Let's give it that prompt there. So this is the prompt that we gave in ChatGPT and Gemini about how I want to develop this further to be a very simple story using an idea where a scene could be produced just 2 minutes long with minimal scene changes. Let's update that and let's ask it to improve that. Here's a focused single scene, 2-minute story concept based on signal runners. Title, The Last Jump. Setting, a single rooftop at dusk, 30 stories high, city skyline, core scenes, Kai is dressed in urban running gear, in an earpiece. Automated voice counts down. She removes that and then 30 seconds left. She runs towards the shed. The drones begin chasing her over this. Okay, nice. And then the end of the scene. So the minimalist approach, it uses a single location, which is good for us both in the real world if you were filming this or with AI. Requires minimal dialogue, exactly as we spoke about in the last section and the starting lecture in this section. Focus on visual storytelling through movement and lighting. So what will be difficult with AI is if he's parkour and he's flipping and jumping, then it's going to be very difficult to be able to do that. So we may want to change this, but this is just how you develop an idea so you get to know, but you might not want to use that for your story, or set yourself a challenge and try and make a video with that much movement with AI. Delivers a twist through simple visual reveal, can be shot in true real time. Okay, that's good. Nice. So this was Claude. You know what I'm going to do actually, just why I have this here, I'm going to say improve, and then I'm going to give it that there. I'm going to say creating this video with AI. And I'm going to see what it says right here, see if it changes any of that, because it now knows I'm making it with AI and not filming it in the real world. Very conversational. I like this. If you're creating this with AI technology, let me propose a version that'd be more feasible with the current AI video generation capabilities. Exactly what we're saying. Focusing on simpler movements and clearer visual elements. So digital breath. Setting a single urban rooftop at sunset. Clean minimalist architecture. 2-minute scene breakdown is this. Okay. Teenage girl in simple dark aesthetic stands on a rooftop behind her. Cityscape. This reminds me somewhat of the last section where we made a workflow and we did a girl on top of a rooftop, didn't we? That's funny. Her smart device protects a holographic warning notice. Dead zone. 23 eliminations scheduled. Time remaining 2 minutes. Walks deliberately towards a shed. Okay. Yeah, a lot less movement. Reaches a shed wall. A tense expression, relief to herself. Camera slowly pans across the wall. So this is really good, probably better actually, and I'm going to now use this tool. I didn't use Claude as much. I'd played with it a few times, but I'm a kind of a ChatGPT person, and you kind of find yourself always leaning towards one model once you get used to it. But look how good Claude was for developing ideas, and probably for scripts also. Developing ideas, you can go back and forward, even tell it the tools. I'm using AI tools, and it recognized intelligently, with the capabilities that we have with AI, let me just change this for you so it's a little bit simpler. Because before I thought you were filming this as in the real world filming. Now I know AI. Here is the change. That's brilliant. That's really, really good. So I would suggest going and playing with Claude to develop your ideas. It's probably now my new favorite tool for using for idea development. And when I come to do my own development at the end of this section, you'll see me develop the film that we've said we're going to do throughout this course. And I'm going to send to film festival. As I mentioned in the earlier lecture, I'm probably going to utilize Claude quite heavily. Very useful tool. Tool number 3 I wanted to show you for generating ideas. Let's move on to the next one, and I want to show you Copilot. The next tool I want to show you is Copilot from Microsoft. So if you go to copilot.microsoft.com, you'll have to sign up, but for free. And I just use my Gmail to sign up for this, I think, back when I signed up for it. And then you'll be confronted with a screen that looks something like this. So Copilot is, if I bring up the slide here, it's of course much the same. Make sure you are giving clear results for it, incorporate key details, use step-by-step instructions for complex tasks, which we're not doing hugely complex, and then emphasize any constraints, etc. Like, for example, in the last lecture where we talked about Claude, the constraints of using creating this video with AI, and he gave us a different result. Now, Copilot is primarily it's great at evaluating already existing input. It's used to be designed with Microsoft Word, Excel, etc. also, but it's really good at giving suggestions, organizing content, and refining existing ideas, which is not to generate ideas, which we're going to use it for, but is really good at refining them. So you could use this either in part with other tools to generate the idea and then use Copilot to then organize these or add to refining an existing idea. But we're going to see what it's like at actually constructing ideas from the get-go. So let's use the exact same prompt as before. I don't need to go into too much detail about how we got this. If you haven't watched it, then watch the ChatGPT. The first lecture is how we developed this to then compare these side by side. Create 10 short form ideas. So if I go back, this is on site for AI video ideas. If I scroll down, I can come to Copilot and specifically see what the ideal prompt is. So input context or document. So we're not inputting a document. You could be inputting a brief script, an idea template that you have already. Specific goal, I want 10 ideas, and then a request based on context. For example, ask Copilot to provide suggestions or ideas based on the specific content you're working with. So we're going a little bit a step before that. Let's see how Copilot copes with this. So short thing, here's a set of short film ideas exploring human versus technology in a futuristic smart city. Okay, silent rebellion in a city where every sound and movement is monitored. A teenager discovers old tape recorder and they start spreading unmonitored messages. Okay, echoes of the past. Teenagers stumble across an ancient library. That's funny, a library came up in the last one, didn't it? Digital ghost. Protagonist hacks into forbidden virtual reality, meets digital avatar of a long-lost relative. Oh, that's quite nice. Heartbeats and hard drives. Rebellious teenager fights against law mandating brain implants for civilians. The last human touch. Neon shadows. Okay, I'm going to go through these and see which one I like, and we can develop this. So it's funny that, look at this, Pulse of the Streets. A protagonist used parkour to navigate the city where all movement is regulated by tech. They become a symbol of freedom for citizens. Let me go back here to Claude. And then this is number 6, Signal Runners. Kai leads a parkour group that performs elaborate runs between the city's wireless dead zones. So wherever the artificial intelligence are pulling these ideas from, somewhere online, this one has come up twice now and it's very obscure to be parkour. So let's actually run with this idea to see what it comes up with as I start asking it to do a little bit more, okay? So with this idea, let's paste that in. And just as we did before, let's tell it, develop this further into a very simple story. I won't say AI, we're using AI yet. For the idea where a scene could be produced just 2 minutes long with minimal scene changes. Now, this is what Copilot by Microsoft is meant to be for, by giving kind of elaborating on an existing idea. So we gave it the existing idea, it actually generated itself, and we asked it to elaborate on this. So this is really good. Even got the same name. So wherever it's pulling this from, it's the same. Funny that AI is doing that. So Pulse of the Streets, a futuristic alleyway. Kai, the rebellious teenager, our protagonist. Guardian drone and AI monitoring the city's movements. In a sleek neon-lit alleyway in the heart of a small city, tall buildings loom overhead. Okay, the start of the scene, the camera pans down and does this. Kai and a voiceover in a city where every step is counted. Freedom is a race against time and tech. Kai takes a digital watch showing a countdown before the curfew activates. This is kind of similar to the last AI we were using. Isn't that funny? Okay, and it's given me a whole scene, but let's do this. I wanted to, once again, and what I loved that we saw here in Claude, if you didn't watch this, go back and watch it, how I was able to give it specifics that we're using AI to make this, and it changed the scene specifically to help and aid to be able to create using AI limitations. Let me just add this in here. Okay, with this idea, which I can see I just spelled idea wrong, missing the last letter. Okay, with this idea where a scene could be produced in just 2 minutes long, we are using AI to generate this video. Let's tell it that and see if it changes its response to the shots it's going to use, just like Claude did. A reminder, Claude said, if you're creating this with AI technology, let me propose a version that would be more feasible with current AI generation capabilities. Incredible. So let's see what this says. Sure, let's expand on this idea to be produced with AI. Okay, characters are the same, futuristic near open shot, camera pans, a skyline, skyscrapers focusing in a narrow alleyway. Kai is just on this. Okay, action begins. Drones warning. So what it's done here is, rather than give me a script, because this is very much a script that you'd be using with traditional TV, what it's done here quite intelligently for AI is broken this down into like bullet points. I call this like a video structure, and we talk about it in the next section when we go over scripts and structures. It's done a nice structure for us in bullet points. And this is what Copilot is really good at, organizing data into a manageable kind of bite-sized format like this. So the opening shot, narration, the action begins, the drones warning, chase sequence, plot twist, connection and conclusion. What it hasn't done, quite advanced as Claude did, is understand fully that I'm creating this with AI. What are AI's limitations? So let's now change the scenes to fit with the limitations that we had. I think of all these tools, ChatGPT, great up there, and Claude maybe just above it on the AI generation. But I really do like Microsoft Copilot for organizing this. I like to consume data like this in bullet points, one step to the next to the next. So there's pros and cons for all of them. It's just another tool I want to show you. Go and play with it. Maybe it'll be your tool of choice. Maybe your brain works this way in breaking things down like this. Mine definitely leads towards Claude slightly more, but I just wanted to show you this. So on the next lecture, I'm going to go over Perplexity AI, which is the last tool for generating ideas. And then I'm going to generate my own idea for the video inside this course. Now, the last tool I'm going to show you before I go on and actually develop our own idea for the project we're going to do throughout this course is Perplexity AI. Just go to perplexity.ai and you'll be able to log in. It's free to use and it's a great bit of software, great tool to use. Although it actually, if I come over here onto the site, I think I say it quite well here. It's great at taking on data or giving a data-driven response. Concise responses, ideal for finding quick ideas or verifying trends or specific niches. So we're going to see how it does at giving us ideas, but it should be giving us concise ideas and also using a data-driven approach, what's trending, what's popular, what's been done, what's good, etc., to give us a response here. So if I bring up the slide just quickly, the usual when prompting with Perplexity AI, use clear language, not colloquialisms, etc. But unlike more conversational tools, Perplexity excels at providing specific insights, comparisons, factual summaries. So ask precise questions or for clarification on a topic. I think there's a great example back on a site here where I show you here with the ideal prompt that I have right here. I want to create a video about zero waste living tips. What are the most important points to cover? This is really kind of an example of where Perplexity excels. You could be saying, I want to create a documentary about the environmental impacts of XYZ, about whatever the topic is that you want, and say, what are the topics I should be covering, the main points, and that's where Perplexity excels. If I was going to generate informational based content, educational, I was going to provide documentaries, even documentary style videos, then Perplexity is really good at generating that. But like we want to compare them side by side for our task right here to generate video ideas. Firstly, actually, I've just seen that Perplexity has this question already on site here. What is Perplexity AI? And it had one earlier that was what's the differences. I'm just going to actually ask it this question because I quite like it when they say that. So definition: a conversational search engine that answers queries using natural language predictive steps utilizing sources on the web. Okay, and here's all about its background and development. It's quite open-ended. Yeah, similar to OpenAI's ChatGPT. Let's go in and prompt it with the prompt that we developed. If you missed our first lecture on ChatGPT, go back and see the beginning of that. We show how we developed this by generating ideas, for example, getting this theme, getting our protagonist, etc., and what the tone should be. So let's just give it this and see what it comes up with. Here's a collection of 10 short film ideas that delve into the theme of human versus technology, set in a futuristic city. Okay, the echoes of tomorrow. In a city where AI manages every aspect of life, 16-year-old Zara discovers a cassette tape. Okay, a glitch in the system. Leo, a tech-savvy teen, hacks to the city's mainframe to expose its corrupt leaders. The algorithm's heart, the forgotten garden, the last connection. So we don't have a parkour one, which you saw in the last two tools that we use, which was funny to have those similarities. So let me just read through these and see which one I'd like to develop inside Perplexity. I like this number 6 here, Code of Silence. In a smart city where everyone's monitored by drones, I can imagine the shots of people walking with drones following them. Rebellious teen Sam discovers a way to unlock surveillance signals and start organizing secret gatherings. Okay, let's copy that. I want to develop that slightly further. And then what I want to add onto the end of here is what we did on the last one. If I go back here, I want this ending. So develop this further to be a very simple story. The idea, we create a scene because they're my limitations. You might be making a full-length AI movie for all I know. This is just the limit that I want. The constraints I've put on, which we spoke about inside the slide here. Make sure you give the constraints that need to be in here. It's 2 minutes long, minimal scene changes, very simple. Let's see what it gives us. So setting a dimly lit rooftop futuristic city surrounded by towering skyscrapers. On the rooftop gathering, this is 30 seconds long. A group of diverse teens, including Sam, huddled together under the glow of makeshift lanterns in their scene, illuminated by excitement, defiance. So it looks like it's not giving me a whole story setting this up. You may have to, if you were creating this, give yourself a voiceover or text on screen explaining what the setup of the scene is, etc. Background noise, drones buzzing overhead. Visual. Suddenly a drone descends from the sky, lights up flashing. Sam steps forward, holding the unexpected alleyway, new alliance, and then the conclusion. The film ends with a wide shot of the rooftop of the city skyline. All right, what I want to see is the main thing. It doesn't matter for this example exactly what that is, what it gave us. What I want to see is if it's intelligent enough, just like we saw with Claude, to do this. I want to see I am creating this with AI video only. I want to see if it changes the scene to be different here based on the fact that I'm using AI. Okay, dimly lit rooftop, futuristic city. So this looks very similar. You see it's done these bullet point markers, just like we saw with Copilot. Look, Copilot did exactly the same right here. A drone suddenly appears above them. Okay, they black away. So it hasn't changed the scene so much. Let me give it a different command, a different prompt right here. Let me say this, AI only. So change the scene to make it easy to produce with AI video limitations. Let's see what it does this time. Okay, set in a small dimly lit room with a few chairs around it, cluttered gadgets. Okay, Sam and 3 friends are seated around a table. I don't know if that's any easier with AI. Computer screen illuminating their faces. Sam holds up a signal blocker device with blinking lights. He leaned in speaking passionately. This is how good Claude was, that it knew that it's using, did it have it in the conclusion here? It's using, yeah, here we are. Minimal rapid movement, simple, clear, costume and complex, without complex patterns. And it also had about not using too much dialogue, which Perplexity is giving us lip sync dialogue here, which we need. background noise, suddenly a drone appears. Okay, so it's great at organizing just like this, but fairly similar to Copilot. I've not used Perplexity an awful lot, and it is good for organizing this in exactly the same way as Copilot, much around each other probably. Perhaps when you're using this, you'd like this more, or if you're going to input data, for example, if you want to make an educational video, informational video around data you were inputting here, then input that and say, make a story or an info video around this data. That's probably more what Perplexity is used for or would be better at. But for our task here, creating AI video with the entertainment skew in mind, not so much. Still, I think winning the race here is Claude. So in the next lecture, I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to use probably ChatGPT and Claude, and I'm going to develop my own. You're going to see how I develop myself an idea for a video that we're going to then continue throughout this course, all the way through from idea, scripting, making the visuals, audio, and then making the video for it all the way through to put that into film festival. So let's go on to the next lecture and let's produce the idea. So now finishing off this section, generating ideas, I'm going to actually generate the idea that I'm going to use for this course project. So if you're following along and want to see one, how I do it, and also follow along with the project that we'll be making throughout the course, this is the very first step of us creating this idea. So I'm going to use my two favorite here. I wouldn't ever just use one AI tool, but you can. Are ChatGPT and Claude, and depending on if you needed an info video, perhaps you'd use some of the others as we've explained in the last few lectures. But I'm creating fiction, I want to create a story, so I like these two tools. I'm going to use them side by side and generate some ideas. So you've probably got an idea. If you had none, then I've shown you in that very first lecture with ChatGPT, especially generate some ideas. But I really like to create something around the idea of conflict, be that actual conflict like war or something along there. I want to see what they bring out here. So I'm going to say generate 10 ideas for a short film around conflict / war, because I don't mean conflict between two people arguing over cutting the tree in the garden next door. I want to let it know. So conflict, war, current or historical. Make the results simple and brief. At this point, I don't want it to start generating me whole ideas and structures and scripts and things. And if I go back into here, this is where this is really helpful. I can come down and on ChatGPT, I can see, hey, what's the ideal prompt here? So I want to create and explain a video technology. Can you suggest a title for this? So I've said, I want to basically generate a film. So I can say, I want to create a short film using AI video. So I want it to generate 10 ideas for this short film around conflict, war, current or historical. Make the results simple and brief. Okay, let's copy that, and I'm going to just paste that in here. While I'm waiting for the result, let me go over to Claude. I'm going to paste that in, but before I do, I'm just going to go back and check on our site to see what it says about Claude and the ideal prompt for that. So developing, I'm thinking of making a video about this. Can you suggest an outline? Okay, pretty much the same language being used for ChatGPT and for Claude. So let's do this. What we do know is Claude is more intelligent at knowing the limitations of AI in this example. So I'll be interested to see what it comes up with. So let's put that in there and see what it says. Whilst I'm waiting, I'm going back over to ChatGPT to see what the 10 results are. The last letter. So a soldier during World War II writes a heartfelt letter to his family before going to battle. The film cuts between the scenes of the battlefield and the family reading the letter. Okay, nice. The truce during a brutal modern-day urban conflict. Two soldiers from opposing sides find themselves trapped together in a destroyed building. Silent heroes in a small village during historic occupation. Villagers secretly help wounded soldiers, hide them from occupying forces. And the white flag. A young soldier ordered to storm a village held by the enemy but finds himself face to face with a child holding a white flag. I like this idea. I don't like any of these specifically exactly as they are, and I want to develop them. But just this spoke to me here. A child holding a white flag. Child, when we're talking about conflict and war, we're often thinking about the soldiers here, but perhaps having this idea from a child's point of view might be quite nice. I might ask it to develop some ideas on that. And this is why generating these ideas are good, because it might not be exactly what it is, but one bit might speak out to you that you hadn't thought of before until you generated these ideas, and then you can generate based on that idea that it gave you from an idea. Let me just go and compare this initial prompt right here with what Claude's gave us. Okay, so AI short form concept. So the last letter. Wait a minute. Let's go back here. Let's have a look at this. The last letter. Okay, let's have a look. It finds a letter, and yeah, much the same. Two sides of war, split screen showing two children on the opposite sides of a border wall. Okay, this is speaking to me a little bit more. Mirroring each other's movements without knowing it, they both draw peace symbols on their respective sides. The AI-friendly elements for this is great that it does this. AI-friendly elements, slow movement, still poses, static wall, simple drawing animations. Nice. The empty classroom. The classroom slowly transformed peacetime to wartime, desks become askew. And a white flag. This is much like we saw in the other one here. So I'm liking Claude's responses and understanding of what's needed for AI far better than any other tool here. So Claude, I'm awarding you the winner, and I want to develop further with you. So I like this idea right here. Okay, I'm going to ask it to develop this. So I want to develop this idea but change it slightly. So I love the idea of these two children coming from either sides of a wall. I don't want to have an actual physical wall as if it's like the Berlin Wall or something, and because there wasn't conflict like that while the Berlin Wall was up. What I want to have, change this to two children on the opposite sides of the world. I like the idea of doing something in time when we saw, I think this last one spelled me here, this World War II. Let's do World War II. Let's do this USA and Japan. So that's just an idea I'm coming out here. I'm just feeding it information and seeing what Claude comes out with. So let's give it this and see what it's going to generate. Let me develop more detailed 2-minute AI-friendly concept focusing on parallel movements in two children during World War II. Titles, Dawn Children. Split screen throughout. Okay, I may or might not do that. Left side shows an American suburban home, backyard. Right side shows traditional Japanese home and garden. Both scenes occur at their respective dawn, symbolizing the same moment in time. Detailed scene breakdown left. An American girl, 8 in simple 1940s dress, sits by her window. Right, a Japanese boy, 8 in simple traditional clothing, sits by his shoji screen, if that's how you pronounce that. Apologies. Both looking up at their respective skies. That's a really nice shot. You can imagine that, can't you? The girl starts drawing her father in military uniform. The boy starts drawing his father in military uniform. Both children pause to look up occasionally. Okay, I think I know what's going to happen right here. Both children add to their drawings. These draw their mother, themselves. Okay, their expressions mirror each other, hopeful but sad. Both children pin their drawings to their wall. Camera slowly pulls back to show left an American, a photo of their father in uniform, right Japanese, a photo of their father in uniform. The final shot, dawn, sun rising, split between the two screens. Okay, so it's showing these two children of war here, side by side, happening at the same time, drawing pictures of their fathers who are in military, draws back to show they've both died. This is a really nice concept and fairly simple and could be very visually stunning where you're using split screen throughout. So I really like this idea. What I want to do is develop that further. In the next stage, we're going to develop a script and a structure based on this. So I like this. What I might do is just have a little research myself around World War II, USA and Japan. And I could actually ask ChatGPT to do this for me. So give me some bullet points about World War II and specifically between Japan and USA. And I just want to see, just to ignite something in me, Pearl Harbor attack, US declares war, Battle of Midway, island hopping strategy. Okay. Let me go back up here. This reached out to me, Pearl Harbor attack. And then, of course, if I keep coming down, there were kamikaze attacks, the Manhattan Project, Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings. Yeah, okay, and then Japan surrenders. So these are each side of the war here. Here's the end, and here's the start here. Okay, something is reaching out to me here. All right, so I want to develop this idea. Two children, USA and Japan, World War II, from the point of view of the children. The USA set at Pearl Harbor, Japanese at the bombing, both showing they lost their fathers, which is what came from the last story. They both lost their fathers. I've taken that to children. You see how we're developing the idea right here, and then ChatGPT gave me some of those ideas. So let me just see what it has around here. I want to develop this idea: two children, USA, Japan, World War II, from the point of view of the children. The USA set up Pearl Harbor and Japan's at the Hiroshima bombings, both showing they lost their fathers. Let's see what Claude does. And because it's a conversational ChatGPT, it knows what we're after right here. I'm trying to make an AI film, and it already knows that right here. So let's see. Let me develop a sensitive, focused 2-minute concept that captures these profound moments through children's eyes. Title: When the Skies Change. Split screen narrative showing two parallel moments: Pearl Harbor, December 10th, 1941, and Hiroshima, August 6th, 1945. 2-minute scenes breakdown. Peaceful morning, left screen, Pearl Harbor. American girl in simple nightgown sitting at a breakfast table, father in Navy uniform, kiss her goodbye. Warm Hawaiian morning light through the window. Navy ships visible in the distance of the harbor. Okay, right screen, Hiroshima. Japanese boy 8 in simple yukata, having breakfast with father in civilian clothes preparing for work. Soft morning light spilling through the screen, city visible through the window. Girl drawing pictures by the window, peaceful morning. Suddenly her head lifts, hearing planes. Paper and crayons stand still in hand, sorry. Right, the boy tending to a small garden, clear blue sky above, noted unusual bright flashes. Garden tool still in hand. This is getting intense. I really like this. Left, the room darkens with shadows of planes. Picture floats from her hand. Father's hat from earlier seen visible on the table. Girl's eyes widening in fear. And on the right, the intense light fills the screen. Boy's garden paper lanterns glows briefly. Father's glasses from earlier seen on the porch. The boy shields his eyes. Right and left merge into a single frame. Both children sitting at similar poses, each holding their father's items. Girl with the navy hat, the boy with the father's glasses. Same dawn sky above them all. They both look up at the same sky. Okay, great. Now we're getting some of the scene. I like this. We've got a scene from Pearl Harbor. We can imagine the dates coming on screen and that juxtaposition between seeing the girl at Pearl Harbor and the boy in Japan. I'm not sure I'd use split screen. I might just jump from one scene to the next. Father goes off to work in Japan, civilian, and the Navy military, father leaving for work, and they're both going to come up against, we know the inevitable that's happening, Pearl Harbor attack there in Hawaii and the Hiroshima bombing. You may want to show some scenes of planes coming over and bombs, or just noises. You could, where that's quite difficult to generate with AI, you could have the girl's face and the noise of this bombing. You could have the boy's face and the noise of that bombing, although I know AI would do a great kind of atom bomb kind of look, depending on how much you wanted to show here. So points for sensitivity: there's no explicit depiction of violence or destruction. Focus on the emotional human experience. Show impact through subtle changes. Emphasize shared emotion. Use children's perspective to maintain innocence. I really like this, really like it. I'd like to expand on the aspect of this concept. I can still detail specific shots, suggest alternatives. Yes, expand on this. I will be using AI video generation for this project. And let's see if it changes anything, given I've given it the limitations of AI here. Last time, we know from earlier, if you haven't seen it, go and watch the Claude lecture that I did earlier. It did a really good job at understanding, if I can find it. If you're creating this for AI technology, let me propose a version that would be more feasible with current AI generation capabilities. Really intelligent stuff. Really nice. So let's wait for Claude to generate this, and we'll see if it makes any changes based on the fact that I'm using AI. Okay, Claude has begun. I'll break this down into very specific AI-friendly shots, focusing on elements that current AI video generation can handle well. So good. Claude is so good for this. Title: When the Sky Changed. A detailed shot-by-shot breakdown optimized for AI generation. So the opening sequence, you've got a close-up shot, American girl's hands coloring with crayons, simple 1940s wooden table surface, warm morning light. Drawing shows her family, Navy ships visible through the window behind her. Hiroshima side, close-up shot, Japanese boy hands folding origami, traditional low table, morning sunlight through the paper screen, origami cranes scattered on the table, city rooftops visible through the window. So it has broken this down shot by shot. I could pretty much, when we come later to start making our mood board or the shots here, I could almost copy this like this and ask if we use, I don't know, Midjourney like I've shown you earlier, could start copying these in to start making my storyboard. I could use this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how many are on here? 7 or so shots that I have on here to be able to generate my storyboard. Claude's so good at that. So what I have here is my idea now. I'm going to develop this kind of side by side or happening simultaneously, this World War II, Japan, Pearl Harbor kind of point of view of the children and loss, this kind of sad story. That's what I'm going to develop here for our project. So in the next section, I'm going to develop the script for that and the structure for the video, and we can start working on that using ChatGPT and some other tools that I'm going to show you that are specifically good for generating scripts. I'll see you over there, but next I have a quick task for you. So to finish off this section, AI video ideas, now you've seen 5 tools and you saw my favorite 2, and especially Claude. I think it's amazing. Using all the tools you'd like, please develop 5 ideas for a project you'd like to work on. You keep developing this and narrow it down. You saw me, I could have just gone with that very first idea that I went with, but I said, okay, I like that tiny bit of that when it said about children and conflict and war. Okay, and then I liked the bit about World War II, and I combined them together, and I kept working and working on it, and use the different tools to compare and get the best ideas. If you use all 5 of these tools, you will quickly see which one is your favorite and which one works the best for your projects that you want. If you're creating, like educational style information content, then you might want a different tool than say, myself when I was creating a fictional piece and I was using Claude. Go ahead and get yourself at least 5 ideas. You may from those 5 have one you want to progress with onto the next stage, but at least have 5 and then sit on them, sleep at it, develop it. And by the time we get into the next section for scripting, you'll have that idea that we could start generating a script or structure for this video, from which we can then make mood board, storyboard, images, and then the video just a few steps away. So please go ahead and do that for the task, and I'll see you in the next section.